Alright, so in this video we're going to take a quick look at PHP generators. So generators are available in PHP 5, but PHP 7 brings a little bit of new functionality to generators. Okay, so we can now have generator return expressions, and we can also use something called generator delegation, which we'll get into in a later video. So what are generators? A generator is a function that can yield a sequence of values. It looks like a function but acts as an iterator. All right, so basically we can have a function that can be paused and return something, and then start it again, return something, and so on. It removes the complexity and overhead of having to use the iterator interface. And we can write code that can be used with for each to iterate over a set of data without actually having to have an array built in memory. Okay, so it really optimizes memory usage. So yield is the keyword that's used with generators instead of return with a regular function. So it does return the value, but instead of removing the function from the stack, yield saves its state. Okay, and it'll keep doing this until the last yield is called. We can also look at this as pausing the function and then continuing it when we want. Now you can use the return. You can use return, and that will terminate the execution just like it would a regular function. So here's a quick example. We have a generator, which is just a function. We have a for loop, and we're saying as long as I is less than or equal to 3, then we're going to run whatever's in here. So we're yielding I. Basically, we're returning it. Okay. Down here, we create the generator object, and then we're going to use for each on the generator, and we're just going to echo out the value each time. So the result from this would be 1, 2, 3. All right, so you can see it's used as if it was an iterator. So we can also yield values with keys. PHP supports associative arrays, and generators are no different. Okay, we can yield keys from a generator, and this is just a really simple example. It's not a full example, but you can see that we can yield the key and then the line, okay, just as if it was an associative array. And then we can, of course, use it inside of a for each. So generators can significantly improve memory optimization, and this is very useful when calculating large data sets. So the way that it works is the way that the results are processed, the memory footprint can be significantly reduced by only allocating the memory for that current result instead of all of them. Okay, so it can significantly increase memory optimization. All right, so let's jump into our text editor and take a look at generators. All right, so let's create a very simple generator here. Okay, so we're going to create a function, and let's just call this, we'll say my counter. All right, so it's created just as if it was a regular function, and what we'll do here is let's echo out counter starting. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll have a for loop, and we're going to say I is equal to 0, and then we're going to say as long as I is less than or equal to 10, and we also want to increment 1 with plus plus. Now from here, if we were to return, actually let's do that first. Okay, so we'll just say return I. Okay, and actually let's put a line break here. And on this side, we'll just say returned. All right, and down here after the for, we're going to echo, and we'll say counter stopped. Now down here, we're going to open up a for each. And in here, we'll say for each my counter as, and then we'll just put a C as our variable. And then down here, let's echo out C. Okay, if we save that and we run it, it does run it. You can see we get our counter starting, but then we have this invalid argument supplied for each. Okay, so in our for each, we're trying to loop through the return from a function, and that's not going to work. Okay, now since it's a generator, what we'll do is use yield instead of return. Okay, and then if we reload, you can see that we have it starting, and then it's going to return 0 all the way up to 10, because we're saying as long as I is less than or equal to 10, and then we get the counter stopped. Okay, so this is an example of a generator. Alright, and we shouldn't even say returned, we should say yielded. Alright, and let's also put a line break here. Alright. Now let's do something that is semi-useful, because this doesn't do much for us. What we'll do is we'll create a generator that will read and output each line of a file. Alright, so in the same folder as our index.php, let's create a new file, and we'll call this, we'll just call it test.txt. Alright, and then let's just say line 1, line 2, line 4. Okay, we'll save that, and then back in our index.php, we're going to create a function, or I should say a generator, and we'll call it read lines. Alright, and that's going to take in a file, and let's do file, actually let's call this file name, and then we'll say file equals fopen, and in here we'll pass in file name, and we want this to be read only, and then we're going to use a while loop, and let's say while, we'll put another set of parentheses here, and we're going to say line equals fgets, and then we'll pass in file, and we want to say if this is not equal to false, then in here we're going to yield line. Alright, and then outside of the while loop we're going to use fclose and just pass in that file. Okay, so that's our generator. Now down here what we'll do is open up a for each, and we'll pass in read lines and the file name, which will be test.txt, and we're going to say as line, and then down here let's echo line, and then we'll just add on a line break. Alright, so let's go ahead and save that and reload. Let's see, what's this? Oh, wait a minute, where did that get saved? Oh, I saved it in the wrong place. Let me just save it here. Let's see, dev. Okay, so now let's reload, and now you can see that it's reading through our lines and outputting it. So if we add another, let's say line 5, save. Okay, so it's going to read each line and output it. Now if we wanted to, we could return keys as well. So if we go where we have the yield, we could say key, okay, just like as if it was an associative array, and then down here instead of just line we're going to say as key line, and let's do echo key, and we'll concatenate, we'll put a dash. Okay, reload, And whoops, we have nothing set, so let's say I equals 0, and down here let's do key equals I, and then here we're going to just say I plus plus. Alright, so now we have numeric keys. So these are just very basic generators. In the next video, we're going to talk about the new PHP 7 feature, which is generator return expressions. Alright, so I'll see you in the next video.